Good evening, good evening. Good evening, everyone. We are grateful for this wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. We are here at GPAC TV 23 Facebook Live. I am honored to be here this evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I am your host, Chariesse Boyd. I am the host of Access Your Inner Wisdom. We have a very special guest this Tuesday evening at our Eastern Standard Time hour. I am so grateful that you guys are chiming in and tuning in, and we just want you to share, notify someone join us. We are in for a treat this evening. We are here with our very special guest for this segment. Please, I want to present to some and introduce to others Mr. Aaron McDonald. Mr. Aaron McDonald, he is a mental health and substance abuse professional. He has his Bachelor of Science degree in psychology, and he has an emphasis on crisis counseling. There is much more that I can say about this awesome young man, but I'm going to pause right there and I am going to greet our guest of the hour, Mr. Aaron McDonald. How are you this evening?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I look forward to our segment and answering any questions you might have.
Yes, there's so much. There's so much that I've learned about you, so much that you have. You wear so many different hats. And I wanted you to know, Mr. Aaron, that I have invited some of our veterans to join this show. And even if they don't watch it at this time, we will be replaying this segment over and over again on our GPAC TV 23 Facebook page. So those who don't catch it live, they will be able to see it, gain some insight and some wisdom. So those of you who are looking to join, share the page. You can find us on my page, Chariesse Boyd Jackson. You can find us on Aaron McDonald's page. And certainly we are right here at GPAC TV 23 Facebook Lives page. A little bit about you, Mr. Aaron. Where were you born and raised, if you don't mind?
So I'm originally from Weston, West Virginia, a really small little town in north central West Virginia. Joined the Marine Corps when I was 17, left for boot camp a week after I graduated, and went all over the place, all over the world, and ended up here in Jacksonville, North Carolina.
A Marine. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm so glad. Thank you for serving our country.
Thank you.
And how many years did you do as a Marine, may I ask?
I did 9 years.
That's a long time. And we're going to get into military questions in a minute in regards to some of what you do. Now, I know that you are a business specialist, a substance abuse professional, and a mental health professional. When you were young, when you were just a little lad, is this something that you said, hey, when I grow up, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be?
No, not at all. I didn't even, things like depression, mental health, they didn't exist in my family, really. We had a state hospital in my city, but we didn't have a therapist in the town that didn't work at the hospital. So it wasn't something that I'd ever crossed my mind until after the Marine Corps.
Okay. So I noticed that, with your career history, you become a specialist in substance abuse. And certainly you're working with human services population. Can you give us just a little bit of background on why? What was it that geared you into this profession?
Yeah, so I got into the profession initially strictly for mental health. And it was mostly because of kind of what I went through after I got out of the Marine Corps in 2015. I had my own struggles with PTSD. I found myself in the darkest of places that I could have ever imagined. And I wasn't comfortable enough to really reach out for help because Marines, we're supposed to be tough. We don't need help. But I did a whole lot of research on just stuff with trauma and how to overcome it. And finally, years later, I did. And then I realized that nobody should have to go through the suffering that I went through because of a stigma that existed. So I wanted to get in the field and start helping people overcome that. And that's what I've done. It's whenever people see the big guy come in the room, they don't want to talk, but then I share my story with them.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, wow, it happened to you? Like you felt that way? It's okay. It doesn't matter how big you are, how many tattoos you got, how tough you are. Everybody has problems. And I wanted to come in and just break the stigma and be someone that the clients could count on to be there without judgment.
I love what you just said. And it is true. Unfortunately, it's just our human nature and the way we were reared. And it's unfortunate. I heard you said that, your stature, you can walk into a room, I'm sure, in silence and folks wouldn't think. But with PTSD, we hear that very commonly when it comes to individuals that have served in the military. However, it's not limited to vets. PTSD could come in many forms. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. I've seen PTSD from anything. Trauma is something that's really self-defined in my world, because I always quote the Addams Family, and I do this whenever I teach my classes. What's normal to the spider is chaos to the fly, and that's how I see us. We're not all the same. Our brains are all different.
Normal to the spiders is chaos to the fly. Yes. So I love what you've shared so far. And when you have many titles I see here. Certainly I met you with the crisis intervention, and we'll get into that in a minute. And I want to kind of hone in on the word crisis. In your words, Aaron, can you describe what the word crisis means in your line of work? What does the word crisis mean in your line of work? And how does it relate to those in the community, as well as giving more detail on how it relates to veterans, if you don't mind? Crisis.
Yeah. So crisis is, again, one of those things that I really self-define. It's everybody has their own tipping point as far as crisis goes, but the word to me is an event that happens that's outside of somebody's normal experience, that causes them any type of psychological, physical symptoms that they have trouble dealing with. If they're having symptoms like that, then they're in a crisis. It's the point blank. I mean, they want to get help. So whenever I worked in a mobile crisis, I used to run mobile crisis for a company here in 9 counties. And we would get things as much as people that were in psychosis to they just didn't know where to go to find a therapist. Right. And it sounds really minute and annoyance that you would get a call like that, but those people have no idea, and in their most vulnerable time of life, they're reaching out for help. So to me, that's a crisis. As far as veterans go, as far as veterans would go in crisis, I mean, it's hard if you don't really know veterans sometimes, because they blanket their emotions, they cover them. That way people don't see them, because everybody that gets out of the military, they want to be that tough person that was a veteran, and it's hard for us to be vulnerable. We're often the last ones to reach out because it's considered being weak, and there's a lot of pride in the veteran community. But that's exactly why the mental health and substance abuse field needs more veterans or people that have experience with veterans to be in here helping them, because it's the average American hearing something that a veteran says, because veterans, law enforcement, first responders absolutely have the most insane sense of humor. They're very dark sense of humor. You've heard them being in the crisis intervention trainings. But one thing that I keep hearing in all these trainings, whenever I talk to people, whenever I talk to veterans, is they hate reaching out for help, because they spend more time explaining what they're talking about than they're actually spending the time on focusing on the problems. So at that point, they're just they're information givers to people. So it's very hard for a veteran to find crisis help, because a lot of people are intrigued by the veteran world. So they want to ask these questions, and it's just not the time or the place to do it.
And see,
But
I would think that it would be the contrary now, with mental health coming more to the forefront.
mhm.
Therapy assistance, you see it on commercials now. Now you're seeing, and different individuals have begun to embrace it. I would think, and I don't know, that not only with the community, we're going to get there, but with the veterans, are there places that they can go? Is information going out to the veterans? Are there individuals like yourself that are going out speaking to these men and women? Because now, you know, we're getting more of a balance of the female genders in the military. Are there areas where they can go and be safe to unwind and open up?
Yeah, there are a lot of colleges now. A lot of universities have created like veteran spaces. Um, all the North Carolina, I think, has 4 vet centers. So vet centers are places for specifically veterans of war to go for therapy types, group therapies. They have art therapy, totally free, and it's not affiliated with the VA. There's no VA wait times. Then in Jacksonville, they have the Stephen A. Cohen Clinic, the Hope for Warrior Clinic, and it's really cool. Is they're totally free, but they're a
Yeah.
short-term facility. They're 12 weeks, but veterans can go there. Families of veterans can go there, their kids, and even really close friends of veterans can be seen there for 12 weeks at zero charge whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
The problem is that these things exist, but they're not talked about enough.
Right. I agree. They're not talked about enough. Now, you're telling me something I didn't even know. I didn't know that there were spaces and places that were quote unquote free, and even friends, close friends of the
Yeah.
veterans can go. So hopefully this segment can be repeated, and I will certainly continue to spread the word. And we do, not only in the community, but we do need the help. Let me take a pause. I want to kind of acknowledge some of these individuals that have joined us on Facebook.
Okay.
So, uh, to you, Aaron, Vernon Garrison says hello. He says the Marines are good guys, and he says thanks for your service, Aaron. Vernon says
Thank you,
thanks for
sir. I
your
appreciate
service.
that.
The next, yes, the next one is Tammy McDonald. I wonder if you know who that is.
I have no idea. I've never heard of it.
It says, hello, thanks so much, son. Proud of you and love you. Now I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
go out on a limb. Is this your mom?
It is. Yep.
All
I
right.
love you too, Mom.
Well, we are grateful that she has joined. Oh, now you have someone all the way on the across the ocean here. Samuel Rich. He says, I'm enjoying watching the show from Africa. How about that?
Absolutely. That's awesome.
We are worldwide known.
Yeah.
And Doris
Welcome.
Waters, she is watching from Kinston, North Carolina. Good to see
Okay.
you, Miss Waters. Good that you've tuned in. We have Aaliyah. She's watching from work. She said it is very informative. So we're grateful for all of you that are watching. Remember, this can be viewed again and again and again and again. So continue to share it. I want to get back into some more questions. Now,
Yeah.
I know that you are working with Cape Side, correct? Cape Side?
I am.
Now,
Cape Side
that's
Psychiatry
in
Connection, yeah.
which county of North Carolina?
So we have offices in Wilmington, so it's New Hanover County and Onslow County here in Jacksonville. But Cape Side serves all of North
Okay.
Carolina via telehealth. We serve Tennessee, Virginia. We have providers everywhere. We offer a lot of services: mental health therapy, psychiatric medication management, addiction, with abstinence-based addiction and medication-assisted treatment for addiction.
Okay. So if someone was to key in Cape Side, right?
Yep.
Will all those locations pop up?
So
I'm
when
going
you get to the
upload
website,
it.
yeah, when you get to the website, what's going to pop up is mainly our Wilmington office, because that's our primary office. But all of the locations and areas that we serve are on there. I'm not sure that we just opened one in Roan Mountain, Tennessee. I'm not sure that they're on there yet because it's not officially open.
Okay.
But our website will show you
Okay.
where to go, and they all use the same switchboard number, so you call the same number for all of them.
So is that capeside.org?
.com.
I don't have your business. .com. Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Capeside.com. And this is where they can get a lot of the resources. And this is where they can, okay, capeside.com. And that's how you and I met. And I am proud to share how we met. I actually had the privilege of hearing you speak at our crisis intervention classroom setting here in Pitt County, North Carolina. You actually are an individual that presents and you hold the attention of your audience. And it takes a lot to hold my attention. And you had my attention, so much so that I said, oh, I got to get Aaron on. Miss Tammy, I had to get your son on. And just like you said, for a person to look at you and see how you present, you wouldn't think, and it's unfortunate that we are prone to oftentimes judge books by its cover. We shouldn't do that, but I just wouldn't think. So that's why I want to take this space and time and ask you, how comfortable are you with diving in a little bit about your own personal story?
I'm comfortable, that was one of the things that really helped me. I got involved in a spiritual PTSD recovery program called Reboot Recovery. And the last 2 weeks of it's a 12-week program. And the last 2 weeks are where you share your story. So it really helped me a lot, So I'm definitely comfortable sharing kind of what kind of led me here. I won't get obviously too detailed in it because it's just probably not appropriate for where we're at. But I mean, I multiple deployments to Afghanistan. I've been 18 countries on operations when I was in the military. War is war. It's not for the faint of heart. Bad things happen, and that's why they have certain people go do it. So I did it, and coming back, in that mindset, it doesn't bother you in the mindset initially, generally, because you're trained to do this stuff whenever it comes to the military. It's what your whole purpose was. I was in infantry. So my job was to go there and hurt people. But when I got back and was done with my deployments, it really set in, the things that I did, the things that I saw. I was like, wow, this is not like the normal human experience.
That's right.
But I still thought it was because I was still in that mindset. I wanted to be in that mindset. I didn't want to be weak. So one day, it just hit me really hard. I was sitting on my front porch with a gun in my hand, and I had two options, take my life or fix it. Unfortunately, it did cost me a marriage in the process, but I was able to repair the relationship with my kid's mom, and we're really good now. We co-parent great. I get along with her and her boyfriend and all their families. So it was tough, but I mean, that was like the turning point for me. I lost my faith in God. I refused to believe that a God could let something happen like that. And then I found it back after going to church, after being drugged to church, actually, because I refused. I didn't have a purpose. And I went to church, and as ironic as it was, the sermon was about a youth pastor that had just taken his own life.
Wow.
And the pastor was telling people, he said, I've had so many people come up to me and tell me that God had bigger plans for this kid. And he said, if you believe that, religion has made you stupid. He said, God did not tell this kid to take his life so that he can follow up with his plans. He said, God gives everybody the free will. And those two words were something that I had never put in my brain. Free will was never anything. I was one of those people like God controls everything. He makes everything happen. And I don't believe he does now. I believe that he puts us in positions for us to figure out how we're going to handle it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where the free will came in. Just learning about free will changed my life. I started going to church again. I started praying again. And, my life just turned around. It was crazy. I've never spoken to God physically, but I feel like that was his way of reaching me. And that's really what started my journey to getting help for my PTSD. So I went from being in the program of reboot recovery to teaching it. And then started out
awesome.
working in a psychiatrist's office and just kept going.
But awesome, I'm going to call it what it is. I'm going to call it an awesome overcoming testimony. And I am adamant about making sure that this show gets spread abroad. Reason, there are so many individuals that are sitting in your very seat. There are so many individuals that need to hear what you just shared about your own personal journey. And I know this working in a similar field, which you certainly know. And it's not only for veterans, ladies and gentlemen, it's for your neighbor, it's for your relative, it's for someone that may even be close to your home or close in your household. I'm sure, Aaron, that a lot that you were thinking about and going through, one couldn't really pick up on it too tough, because I'm sure you carried yourself a certain way that people wouldn't look twice to think that you would be sitting with a gun in your hand, ready to give it all up. Am I right?
Yeah. No,
oftentimes
the only person that ever saw it was my wife.
Okay, right. And this is why it's so important for us as humans to reach out. I am not opposed to texting and emailing, but sometimes, and Aaron, you let me know if you agree, sometimes you have to pick up that phone, you have to knock on that door, or you have to invite someone. Am I wrong?
Absolutely. You've got to have somebody you can count on. You know, I started college as a social work major, and social work wasn't for me. That program wasn't for me. They're great. LCSWs are amazing. Some of the best therapists I know are LCSWs. But, you know, the one thing that I really took away from that was, in social work, they teach you that everybody has to have kind of that anchor person in their life. When that anchor person goes away, they really have trouble. And I believe that everybody needs one, whether it's your friend, your family, who it shouldn't be a professional that you see. It should never be your doctor, because they can't be your anchor. They're not always available to you. But yeah,
you're right.
So many people that are struggling with this that are afraid to reach out, and they shouldn't. And if they don't want to talk to their friends, one thing that I'm a huge proponent for is mobile crisis. Whether I'm there or not, it's one of the best services that this state has to offer people, and it's totally free. They don't charge a dime, and they come to you. They come to you where you're at, wherever it's convenient for you, and they do a crisis assessment, figure out what kind of treatment or help you might need, and they get you there. So
yes, the mobile crisis team. I'm going to actually post that. So, unfortunately, so many do not reach out, or they don't know where to turn to, and it's unfortunate because we're right here. I'm going to mobile crisis. We use Google for so many things. We use the internet for so many things, and we can honestly take heed to those 3 words: mobile crisis team. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. If it's not entitled a mobile crisis team, like it is here in North Carolina, it can be called the ACT team. It could be called crisis something. There's a new 3-digit number that we can dial now.
988.
What's that number?
It's 988, and it's extension 1 for veterans.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you could always dial 988. And for veterans?
Extension 1.
What did you say? Extension what?
1. Extension
1. I'm going to post that. It's important because we have so many people that are sitting in silence. We have so many people that are in pain in silence, and they're reaching out. They want to know what to do. Some are embarrassed. Some don't know who to turn to. I get it. And it's important for individuals like yourself, Mr. Aaron, and people that work in our field. 988. Dial 988. Whether you're in the community, you're not feeling good. And another thing that you stated, Aaron, that I want to second, have someone to talk to. find you someone that you can speak with, whoever it is. Oftentimes, I'm that listening ear.
Yep.
I'm that listening ear to often strangers. And the type of work that I do work very, very closely with mobile crisis because I have multiple jobs in this field. And I'm going for the child, Aaron. The next thing you know, I'm helping out the parent or the guardian because it's that serious for them.
Yeah.
It's that serious. With all the mobile crisis that we do, and that, ladies and gentlemen, that's how I met Aaron. I met Aaron because we here in Pitt County, North Carolina, we have our community college and we have a law enforcement training building. And every month, there's at least one or two of those students that come and pull each and every one of us to the side, you, me, Brian, and they share and they disclose. If it's not their child, it's their spouse. If it's not their spouse, it's their sibling. If it's not their sibling, it's their in-law. The people that are even listening right now, trust me, there's someone in this conference that's having a concern, an issue that they may not be comfortable talking to you with. Introduce them to the mobile crisis. Aaron has allowed us to contact him. Yep. And even Cape Side as a whole, we can contact them. I'm the mobile crisis here in Pitt County. We're here. We are here. Let me show Cape Side to those that are watching. We're going to continue to put it on the screen and reach out. Reach out. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you had to say something to, let's say, a neighbor that has seen a change in individual in their neighborhood, in their community, and they've observed a change, how would they approach them when they're an introvert themselves? What would you recommend?
That's a slippery slope. You don't want to be too direct and say, hey, something's off. What's wrong with you? You know, that's a terrible way to do it. But those little things that you notice, maybe they're not cutting their yard the same. Maybe they're just letting it grow. Like, hey, you know, I noticed your yard's higher than normal. Do you need some help? Like, maybe I can help you if your mower broke or if you're sick or something. Hint around it, you know. Think of ways to start a conversation with them, because whenever you talk to people, you get way better results. That's you know, one of the best ways to approach people as a mental health professional. I do it is I use a very humanistic approach with them, because we're all people, and the humanistic approach believes that we're all unique in our own ways, and that we need to be treated that way. I like to look at the person as a whole, not the person as a problem. The person has a problem, but what caused that problem? It wasn't just something small. Their whole existence is there for that problem. And the same problem can present so differently in so many people. You don't know what their whole background is. I actually was having a conversation with one of our therapists today.
Okay.
You know, of doctors giving people ADHD diagnosis because they're looking around and everything, but they're not looking at the humanistic way of why. You know, for her example, she gave me was she grew up in Detroit, Michigan, so she had to keep looking around. It wasn't the safe Jacksonville, North Carolina that we sit in. It was, you know, a really bad neighborhood that she lived in, so she had to keep looking around. That was just that was just her life. But to the people that don't look at it from a whole, at a humanistic approach, that's an ADHD symptom, and not a nature symptom.
Right.
So we all want to be talked to. We don't like to be talked at. And that's one of the biggest problems in it, even in some professionals, especially the people that are in psychosis. We want to talk to them like they're not intelligent anymore, because they're not in their natural state. They're dissociative. But when we talk to them like people, you get to really learn what's going on.
That's right.
I couldn't tell you the amount of people in psychosis that I saw in mobile crisis that people were just yelling at because they're saying, "You're crazy. Why are you doing this?" And they were extremely aggressive to those people. But I showed up and I sat down with them like, hey
That's
man, what's
it.
going on? Like, what's the problem? And they'll tell you, they'll talk to you, we'll have a whole conversation with you. You might have to guide them back a little bit because their mania or whatever their thoughts are going to veer off a little bit. But when you talk to them, you get such better results. We all have mental health struggles, and we've all allowed ourselves to be vulnerable. So those people are being vulnerable by talking to us. So why would we ruin it by talking at them and talking down to them?
Absolutely. Well said. Very much well said. I want to kind of segue a little bit to the substance abuse side.
Mm-hmm.
You state that you are a substance abuse professional.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to kind of speak on that. That is an area that I have knowledge and insight into, and you know, I've done some things with that, but that's not my area of strength. When it comes to my degree and my title, kind of share with us, because there's individuals that may know of people, it may be them themselves that are viewing this. When they have that substance abuse issue, does that help come from these same areas that we just spoke about? Can they get help from mobile crisis, Cape Side? Same thing. Is it that easy? Because it's illegal now.
It is actually. It's easier said than done, because somebody in addiction, it's hard for them to want to get help, because when they're getting that addiction high from what we call it, you know, their amygdala is really firing off a reward symptom in their brain that feels really good to them. So convincing them, like, hey, you've got to stop doing this reward to your brain because it's really hurting you. But whenever you do get that, there are many places for the help. Mobile crisis specifically is there for mental health, substance abuse, and individuals with IDDs, the intellectual developmental disabilities. They do crisis service for them. We have 5 facility-based crisis detoxes on the eastern side of the state alone. There's 3 with Port Health. There's Dick's Crisis Intervention Center. It's in Jacksonville. Port Health there's one in Greenville. There's one in Ahoskie, North Carolina, and there's one in Little Washington. Port Health also has a teen adolescent residential program for substance abuse that serves teens and adolescents from the age 13 to 17 and a half. It's a 30-day program for substance abuse and mental health. Walter B. Jones is also in Greenville. It is a state-funded, state-run substance abuse detox with a long-term rehab at the end. In New Hanover County, they just opened up a place called the Healing Place. Beautiful, beautiful campus. It's 102 long-term rehab beds, and the long-term rehab is from 9 to 12 months. It is abstinence-based.
Wow.
It's peer-led. So people that are running the programs and like helping the clients day to day are people that have graduated the program.
Okay.
They have a detox that has 28 beds, 14 for males, 14 for females. They have 14 homeless beds, 7 for males, 7 for females. And they have 14 2-week trek beds. So once somebody finishes detox, they go into those 2-week beds, waiting their admittance into the program.
Awesome.
And it's totally 100% free. Nobody gets a bill. It's funded by Trillium. Cape Side has a really great relationship with the Healing Place. I've worked with the executive director in, I think, 2 jobs before now. Great place, great staff, their clinical director, their program managers, all great people. Unfortunately, at Cape Side, we don't really send people to detox often, but when we do, they're our first option.
Okay. Wow. So I heard you mention, and those of you that are watching, are viewing, please chat in your comments, your questions, your compliments, your concerns, chat them in. I don't know how many of you are on, but chat them in. Highlight them. You can be anonymous. You can state who you are. You can tell me to keep it anonymous. You can tell me not to post it. Chat in your comments, your questions, your compliments, and your concerns. This is a necessary journey. This is a necessary dialogue. There are so many individuals. We like to talk about, cotton candy and pink and yellow flowers, and that's fine too. But here's the facts. The facts are we have people all over this community hurting. We have people that are dealing with internal secret dysfunctional behaviors for whatever the reason is. As we said at the top of this show, trauma. Trauma does not only come from being in the military. Trauma could come. My trauma may not be your trauma, Aaron, right?
Mhm.
And it could be things, oftentimes it is things that stems from our childhood. We are definitely helpers one to another. You have really just allowed me to see you just in a whole brand new light, Aaron, because now I am not an introvert by no means. And when I first, listened to you and you conducted your presentation, I went walking up to you. And your whole stature was like, I guess they said anybody else wouldn't walk up to them. But I was like, hi, I'm Chariesse. I need you on my show, And to me, you were like a gentle giant. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that people have told you have an intimidating look because they've told me that. And I guess I can turn it any way I want. I find myself, Aaron, and I don't know if this happens with you, I find myself giving strangers an encouraging word. I can go through the drive-thru and I'll be like, you are going to have such a blessed day today. And they're like, thank you. I needed to hear that. I do it all the time. I talk to people on the phone for customer service. I wind up saying, you don't know how much you helped me. I hope you get so blessed. I do that purposely. And I'm glad that I'm wired to do that. Now, I know I'm not the only one like that. I know you're not the only one of your kind that can reach out and tell. There are people listening. Exercise your good abilities to help each other. Kind of give me some feedback on that, Aaron.
So resilience is where it's at. If it weren't for resilience, we'd have no peer supports, plain and simple. And the one thing you were talking about is trauma can come from a lot of things. And what I really want to point out with that was substance abuse usually comes from somebody trying to medicate their trauma with the substance to make them feel better.
Absolutely.
And, society as a whole, we want to look at these people. We want to say, oh, they're just drunks. They're just addicts.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of, and honestly, that's where I was at before I got in the field. I didn't know anything about it. I learned in college, because I used to study neuroscience as a minor, and learning how the brain works.
Yes.
Everybody is one substance from an addiction.
That's
Everybody's
right.
one action from a crisis, from a mental breakdown. We all took the pain pills before. Unfortunately, some people's brains process them differently, and that's where the addiction came from. But can you blame the people for continuously seeking what made them feel better? No.
Right.
But what we can do is help them get off of that and find something better. Help them find healthier coping skills, healthier alternatives to what made them do that. And it's unfortunate that we have an opiate epidemic and everybody wants to help it until it comes home. When it comes home, nobody wants to help it. And that's the hard truth that nobody wants to talk about, because everybody to someone's face is going to say, yeah, I want this here. And I've seen a treatment center open up in a neighborhood and they started signing up petitions to get it out of there. So we don't want them in our neighborhood. Well, they're going to end up there if they don't get help. It's going to go everywhere. Said everything crosses the street once in a while. It's just a matter of time. If we want to help them, it shouldn't matter where it's at, as long as they're there getting help.
You're absolutely right. I concur with every statement, and you're right. Coming from decades of working in the mental health prisons throughout the states, currently here in this state, just like you said, or maybe you didn't say it, I don't know, but yes, you did say it. I've learned so much. Working with the mental health population. I've learned so much working with the incarcerated mental health population. in a positive fashion. The most mannerable, polite men that I've ever met. You would have never thought, because we have these ways of thinking when it comes to prison, these ways of thinking when it comes to an ex-military person that is having challenges. We have these ways of thinking when someone is addicted to a substance, and it's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate. And just like you said, until it gets to our door, until it comes in our backyard, then we focus. But here we are. Here we are, world. Here we are. We have the opportunity to, if even if you're an introvert, even if you're a person that you consider yourself to be shy, we have just posted up tools. I feel that we are living in a day and age where there's really no excuses, because anything that you want to know, you can just enter it on the web. How to make upside down pineapple cake. How to make an upside down pineapple cake. How to get help because I feel like taking my life. You key it in and it will pop up. Unfortunately, some of us, we key in things on these devices that we have no business keying in. But I want to challenge those of you who come across this show today. I challenge you. I challenge you. I double dare you. Reach out to someone. Tell someone about Cape Side's, what is that? Psychiatry.com. Tell someone about mobile crisis. Just key it in. Key in all the different areas that we discussed. Port Health. I think you said the Healing Place, right? Did you mention the Healing Place,
is in it's in Wilmington. And you know, one thing I always share with a lot of people. Have you ever heard the starfish story?
No, please tell. Do tell. Do tell.
The starfish story is something I learned. I worked at Bryn Mawr Hospital, and it was an award that we gave out, and it's proof that it only takes one. So the starfish story starts. There's a gentleman that he's a writer. He's got writer's block, and he's walking the beach, and for as far as the eye can see, there's starfish washed up on the beach. He sees a kid throwing starfish into the water. He walks up to him. He says, "Kid, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm trying to save the starfish." He said, "Why? You're not going to save them all. It doesn't matter." The kid throws one in. He says, "It mattered to that one." So that one starfish is going to help repopulate in that world. The one person that we help through substance abuse is going to help somebody else through substance abuse. The person we help in their mental health struggles is going to help somebody else. It's a trickle effect. That's how life works. That's why we have people in the field that have experience in it. So that's always a story I like to share with people, because I think that their one thing isn't going to matter, but that one thing can save someone's life that ends up saving 100 lives total.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Each one teach one. And all it takes is a referral. I keep the mobile crisis cards in my trunk. Happy to be able to work with Trillium. I'm happy to be able to work with the behavioral health in North Carolina State Corrections. I'm happy to be able to volunteer with NAMI. And NAMI is the acronym for the National Alliance of Mentally Ill. I'm happy to be a part of all entities. And certainly I have the in now with you, Aaron, where I can get them referred to Cape Side. So
absolutely,
to know people, it's important. There were a few that you threw here that I was not aware of. I was not aware of the Healing Place. I know that we speak about the Oxford houses. We speak about that as a source of help for those that have substance abuse issues, but they want to re-enter society as a productive member of society.
Yeah.
So we promote that. And if nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, you have Aaron here, and you have Aaron McDonald here, and you have Chariesse Boyd here. Both of us are on social media. Inbox us. Send us a message.
Yeah, email. If anybody ever is looking for a resource, they can email me. If they email me and they're looking for a resource, I'll help anyone that's looking for a resource.
And do you have? Yeah.
Do you have my email?
You have your email address at hand, or you talk about Facebook?
No, my email address is A McDonald at capesidepsychiatry.com.
Okay. A McDonald. Mm-hmm.
Yep. At capesidepsychiatry.com.
Okay. And I appreciate that.
You know, speaking of Cape Side, I'd love to invite you and anybody else that wants to come. We're having an open house on Cape Side in Wilmington on October 14th at our location of Judges Road. You'll be able to meet the staff. We have food trucks, bounce houses, rock walls. There's going to be face painting for kids. It's just going to be a fun time. It's from 11 to 3 that day on October 14th. You know, come see your Cape Side for yourself. That's what we want people to see, you know, because whenever you're an agency that is mostly telehealth, people have questions, and we want to answer all those questions.
That is so good to hear. So that's October 14th is the open house from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And is it open to the public or certain individuals?
Anybody can come. We're going to have vendors there. We're going to have NAMI, maybe. I know Mobile Crisis is going to be there. We have Primary Cares coming. There's a lot of vendors coming, so there will be a lot of resources.
Wow, this is good to hear. I think that I will look at my calendar and you'll probably see my face in the place. Those of you who will have the opportunity to see this again, to review it later on tonight, remember, the open house is October 14th at Cape Side Psychiatry. That is October 14th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. I shall post it again, and I'll put it there for us. Do you have any other types of information, referrals, accolades, anything that you want to share here with our show, Access Your Inner Wisdom?
So, you know, with that, I'll give you real quick the address. It's 311 Judges Road in Wilmington for that open house. But as far as just accolades and things I want to share with the community is a lot of the churches in the community are a part of the substance abuse recovery program. There are so many places to get help. And there's a lot of funding for people that can't afford it. And you can go to your local health department and ask, you know, how can I get funding for this? Ask for your, at the health department, they have health educators. And those people work with the grants and everything, and they work with all the community resources. So ask to speak with a health educator on behavioral health, and they'll point you in the right direction. Right. It's just being strong enough to take that first step to do that is what's going to be hard. But I promise to anybody that does it, they're going to thank themselves for the rest of their lives.
I agree. I totally agree. And if they're too shy, those of you who are listening, you can speak on their behalf. I mean, once you alert these agencies that we've showed you, or Aaron or myself, we could take it from there. We are used to people being shy. We are used to people being embarrassed. We are used to people not wanting to open up. Just bring them to the door and we'll take care of the rest. Just bring them to the door. Yep. And I am so grateful that we're sharing this information. What'd you say, Aaron? Please speak.
No, I was just saying, I can promise you that when you get somebody to the door of anybody in the field that's wanting to help them, they're going to get there. I couldn't tell you the amount of people that I showed up to. They're like, you know what? Screw you. I don't want to talk to you. You're just going to send me somewhere. And that's where that humanistic approach really shows them, like, hey, I don't want to take you anywhere, man. I just want to help you, whatever that may be. And I'm going to be honest with you, you know. And that's another thing that we got to really remember when we're talking to people, because there's a trend in the world that people want to say, I'm honest because I'm savage. You know, savage doesn't help anybody. Be honest because you want to be productive in their lives. You don't have to be mean when you're honest. You can say it with tact and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing from this. I think this is why you're feeling this way. So let's go get some help. You don't have to say, well, it's your fault you did this. You chose to do a drug. You're the one that got addicted. It's not the case. We need to be compassionate, empathetic, and sympathetic with these people that are coming to us for help. If we're not doing that, we're going to continue to not help people, and our epidemic's only going to get worse. Right now, the leading cause of death for individuals 15 to 44 is overdose. It's a crazy statistic, and it's just getting worse with all the new drugs.
Yes. Funny, you should mention that. You said 15 to 44
Yep.
overdose,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
I just heard as I was preparing to come here to the station, the news was on and they were speaking about another drug that's right here in our area. Something
Yeah.
with the Narcans.
It
Enlighten
is.
me on that. I was
The
hearing it
street name is
as I was
called
walking
Trank.
through the door.
The street name's called Trank. The name of the drug itself is xylazine. It's a muscle relaxer used in veterinary use, and it is killing people instantly. It's worse than fentanyl because Narcan doesn't work on xylazine. There's no reversing it. And they're starting to lace fentanyl with xylazine. So you're playing Russian roulette every time you use it. Unfortunately, some people don't know that it's in there. Just like a lot of the people that have used heroin or something else that did overdose, they didn't know that fentanyl was in there. And it takes a grain of salt size of fentanyl for someone to die. It doesn't
Yep.
take much, and xylazine's worse. It's being laced as far as that is being injected. Whenever it is injected, the site of injection can dry out, and it can get as bad as needing limbs amputated
Wow.
because it just eats away the flesh. It was not meant for humans. It's mainly used in horses. That was
Right.
something I learned about out in the Outer Banks. I was at a meeting out in Dare County, and they brought it up. And I was talking to a peer support that was a previous user, and I said, "Hey, man, like, what's the story behind this stuff? Why do people do this, knowing how dangerous it is?" And his response to me is like, "Man, when you're searching for a high, you want to get as good of a nod as you can, and the nod is like that, just wanting to fall asleep but staying awake because you start having the crazy thoughts and the hallucinations that some might get, and people are searching that. Some drug dealers are doing it because they know people want that nod, and that's how they get them to come back. If they don't die, they're going to think that was the best high they've ever gotten, so they got to come back.
Right.
But that's the new drug that's coming out right
It's
now.
heart wrenching.
It is. It's
Yeah,
unfortunate, but
it is.
that's what we're here for, to create awareness. And I know in Jacksonville, the police department has a therapist and a substance abuse counselor, and she just got Narcan put into all the hotels here. It was amazing.
Wow. Wonderful. I'm so glad that Jackson is up on that. Hopefully, it'll trickle throughout our fellow counties. I do know, and I believe that you are currently doing it. We are having even our Pitt County area here in North Carolina,
Mhm.
officers take the crisis intervention training course so that when individuals have these crises that you spoke about at the top of
Mhm.
the hour, that we want to tell the people in the community, you call for a law enforcement, you can specifically ask for a CIT officer. You can
Yes.
ask for a crisis intervention team officer. And I'm happy to say that that's what we can do now. If you have
Mhm.
a educated, certified crisis intervention team officer,
Mhm.
they will come with a different approach. They will come with a more insightful way to get to that individual. Can you speak a little bit about that, Aaron? Because
Yeah,
I know your
absolutely.
history
And
has some
I'll
law
give a
enforcement in
personal
it.
testimony on it. So crisis intervention training, the things that I teach psychotropic medications, trauma, self-care, substance abuse, personality disorders. So I teach all those to officers. And the whole reason is to educate them on what they're going to see in the field. And sometimes they educate me on what they see in the field. But when they get there, they have all this training on how to talk to people, things to look out for, because that's what all this is for. It's what should I look out for when I'm out there talking to these people that call in. And there was one instance in Wilmington. I drove there for a crisis call, and I was told, this woman needs to go to the hospital. She said she wants to kill her husband. I get there, and the New Hanover County Sheriff's Department had an officer that was CIT trained. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, I know it's not your job to assess." I said, "But as a CIT officer, what are your thoughts?" And this is before I even talked to the individual. He said, "Man, I'll tell you, she said she wishes that her husband was dead, but it's because he has dementia and he can't do anything for himself." And she said it in a sympathetic way. She didn't say she wanted to kill him. She said that she knows he would rather be dead than be the way he is. So just understanding what someone's saying and how they're meaning it is huge. And that's why there's a lot of issues in law enforcement when they respond to these calls is they don't know how to respond to some of the things that are being said. They don't know the signs to look for if somebody's in psychosis or if somebody has dementia. Things such as a UTI in women can cause them to have psychotic type symptoms. But they learn this in crisis intervention training. And I believe Trillium's goal is to have every single officer in their counties trained with CIT. And we're getting
you are exactly right. And I'm going to back up what you say. Here in the Eastern region, our regional director, the goal is to have every correctional officer with crisis intervention training under their belt. It's a necessary certified training that needs to be done. It's a necessary journey. So are you in agreement with what America is saying? And this is as we're bringing it into a close, that after COVID, we see an increase in all the things that we spoke of?
I do, because we all got comfortable at home, and then COVID itself traumatized people. People can develop PTSD from that alone. PTSD isn't something that has to always be something you directly face. It could be that you're just really afraid. PTSD can be diagnosed as a firsthand or secondhand exposure. So when people are used to it and they're coming out now, and now everybody gets sick, the first thing you hear is, oh, maybe they have COVID. But it's caused a lot of anxiety for people to go out in public places now because people are afraid to get sick. I think it made it a lot harder for some people. And at the same time, made it a lot easier for people to get treatment because when COVID started, it opened up a whole new window to a virtual treatment where people can get help. They don't have to worry about that stigma of being seen walking into the psychiatrist's office. They can do it from the comforts of their own home. So it did hurt, but it helped at the same time.
Yeah. I agree. And with all of this, we are just grateful for everyone that has joined, everyone that has chimed in. We are happy, even for those who will be viewing this after we end the show in the next few minutes. Aaron McDonald, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you have a busy schedule, but you thought it not robbery to come and share and to give insight and even share your personal story. It has opened many eyes. I'm going to say that in faith because it has certainly opened mine. And certainly I will probably have you back. I'm going to see how my schedule looks to be a part of the open house team. And we have an upcoming tour for where I work, and I want you to come with Brian and myself and a few of us that are going over there. It's important for us to see, where we're all working with the population that we service, so we can see once again that we are helpers one to another. You have about 1 minute. You have any closing remarks, Aaron, before I close?
No, I really appreciate you having me. I always take time out of my day to do something like this because I'm here for the cause. It doesn't matter who I work for. My children grow up in this environment. This is my home. So regardless of a company, I'm always here for the cause, no matter what. I want to help anybody I can, even if it's not bringing them to Cape Side, getting them something else that's going to fit them better. Because when you're finding treatment, you got to find treatment that fits, and not one treatment's going to fit everybody. I can promise you that. I want to thank you for having me. Thank you for what you do. Allowing the CITs to happen, because without you being there, they don't happen.
Right.
And I can tell you, I've never read the remarks, but I know that people learn from those. I've never read the evaluation piece, but I've had officers stop me at the end and say, wow, you said something that struck me. Like, can I talk to you more about that? And it's great. Like I bring up conversations in my classes. I make them talk.
Well, we are grateful. Yes, we are grateful. And to all of you who have tuned in to access your inner wisdom on GPAC TV 23, just on Roku, you can find us on YouTube, and you can certainly find us on GPAC TV 23 Facebook. and you can certainly share this, and it will air again and again. Thank all of you for joining in with Access Your Inner Wisdom with your host, Chariesse Boyd.